Hey book besties, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 favorite books of 2022. It was honestly so hard to pick my top 10 because I have read over 100 books in 2022, which is absolutely crazy. I do plan on doing a end of year wrap up talking about every single book I've read in 2022, so I'm gonna film that closer to the actual end of the year. But it was just so hard to pick 10 out of the 100 books that I've read because I have read some really good books this year, but I am pretty happy with the 10 that I have picked out, and I'm so excited to be sharing them with you guys. I have also ranked these from 1 through to 10, so we're going to start off with the 10th book and make our way up to my number 1 favorite book, which I don't think will be a surprise. But before we get into this video, comment down below what your favorite book of 2022 was, or just leave me some book recommendations that you guys would like me to see read, and let's officially get started. So coming in at number 10, we have a young adult fantasy, which is Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. This book was so fun to read, very fast paced. It also gives me fairy tale vibes, which is the reason why I love this book so much. So this book follows a princess named Shiori who actually finds out she has forbidden magic running through her veins, and one day she meets a dragon who actually teaches her how to do magic. But then she finds out that her stepmother also has forbidden magic running through her veins, and her stepmother basically like puts a curse on her and her 6 brothers. She turns her 6 brothers into cranes, and she also curses Shiori where if she ever speaks or makes a noise, anything like that, one of her brothers will die. So it's her trying to like break the curse and turn her brothers back into humans. I'm normally a contemporary romance reader and I don't typically read too many fantasies, so this is actually the only fantasy book that I have that made it to my top 10 favorites. I highly recommend this one. It's such an easy read and it's so whimsical and fun. Number 9 is Second First Impressions by Sally Thorne. I really enjoyed this book because I connected so much to the female main character, Ruthie. Ruthie is very introverted, very much an old soul. Like, she likes to spend her Friday nights in having a self-care day, reading a book, having a bubble bath. She just reminded me a lot of me, so reading this I felt very connected. I feel like this is so underrated. Like, everyone talks about The Hating Game, which I also really enjoyed, but Second First Impressions has a very special place in my heart. This book follows Ruthie and Teddy. Ruthie works at a retirement village and she also lives there as well, which is a perk of working there, and Teddy is actually the son of the retirement village owner, and he's kind of like a bad boy. He rides a motorcycle, has tattoos, and his dream goal is to actually own his own tattoo shop. But his father doesn't really think much of him, so he's trying to prove himself. So he's stuck in this situation now, staying at the retirement village and working there to prove himself and also save up enough money so he can open up his own tattoo parlor. Obviously this is opposites attract, but I feel like Ruthie and Teddy really balance each other out so well. This book was just so cute and I absolutely adored this one. Super underrated. Number 8 is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I feel like everyone has either read or have heard of this book because it is super hyped up on Book Talk, but it was actually the first book that I did a reading vlog for, and also the first book that I ever annotated, and I really loved this book. It's got women in STEM, it's grumpy sunshine and fake dating, and I just adored this book. It was such an easy, fun read. So Olive is trying to convince her best friend that she is over her ex, so then her best friend can actually date her ex. So in order to do this, she has to pretend that she has a boyfriend. One day when she's studying in the lab, when she's meant to actually be on a fake date, her best friend actually walks past the lab. She freaks out and she kisses the first person that she sees, which turns out is the grumpy hot professor that everyone is terrified of. Also, I wanted to mention Olive is a grad student and Adam is a young professor, so they're very close in age, and also Olive isn't one of his students. I just wanted to put that out there. But they decide to strike up this fake dating deal because they both get something out of it. I loved the writing. I loved the characters. This book was amazing, and Olive in this book was just such a mood. Number 7 is Pack Up the Moon by Kristen Higgins. I don't have a copy of the book with me because this was a library book that I read. This was a very emotional read and did talk about very triggering topics regarding illness and death. It was really sad, but also such a beautiful book. So this follows the relationship of Joshua and Lauren. They are newly wedded and they are madly and utterly in love, but then they find out that Lauren actually has an illness that is going to kill her. Lauren knows that she's gonna die, so she actually writes letters for Josh to open every single month for the first year of her death. And we have it then and now perspective with dual POV, and it is such an emotional read. Oh my goodness. I read this one I think in April or May, so closer to the start of the year, and it just really hit. Like, it was such a beautiful but sad love story, and I really enjoyed it. If you are looking for like an emotional read that may like leave you teary-eyed or crying, I definitely recommend Pack Up the Moon because it is beautiful. Number 6 is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Yes, this is another very hyped up book talk book, but it's hyped up for a reason because this book has made it onto my top 10 and it is so freaking good. This book follows a very scandalous but well-known actress named Evelyn Hugo, who was like really big in the 50s, and now she is like in her 80s, and she hires this journalist named Monique to actually tell her real story as like a biography. And basically we hear about Evelyn start up as an actress, the movies that she's been in, all the scandals, all of the 7 husbands that she married, and also who her true love really was. This book felt so real. I felt like Evelyn Hugo was an actual actress that I was obsessing over. Like, I wanted to go and Google Evelyn Hugo because it felt so real. I love the writing in this book. Taylor Jenkins Reid, oh my goodness, she is a gem. She is an incredible storyteller. This book was fantastic, and oh my goodness, I wish I could read this book for the very first time again because it was amazing. Coming in at number 5 is my favorite Colleen Hoover book so far, which is Reminders of Him. I actually did a reading vlog for this one. It would have been in my reading only Colleen Hoover books for a week video, so I'll have that linked out below if you want to check that out. This is an incredible story. This follows Kenna, who is a young mother. She has just served 4 years in prison, and she actually had her daughter in prison as well. So straight after giving birth, she wasn't allowed to see her, and the only hope that she's had while in prison is to be back in her daughter's life. So straight after she gets out of prison, she wants to get in contact with her daughter and be in her daughter's life, but everyone in her daughter's life is preventing that from happening, and the only person that hasn't completely shut her out is this guy named Ledger. And Ledger is one of my favorite coho book boyfriends. He is just everything, and there's a little bit of a romance going on, but the main plot line is Hannah trying to be a part of her daughter's life again and her fight and determination to make that happen. I just thought it was such a beautiful story, and you also find out why Kenna went into prison in the first place quite early on. Highly recommend if you are going into coho books. Yes, It Ends With Us is amazing, but Reminders of Him is my personal favorite. Number 4 is Before We Were Strangers by Renee Carlino. I also don't have a physical copy of this book because I borrowed it from the library. It's a second chance romance, and it's actually set in New York, and you get a then and now perspective and multiple POVs. We follow Matt and Grace. They first met when they were in college, and it was friends to lovers initially, and they are very much soulmates. oh my goodness. But then something happens and that causes them to not speak to each other for, I think it was 10 or 15 years. So 15 years goes past and then they actually meet again because they have an encounter at the subway station, and Matt actually does everything to try and find her. And once they rekindle again, there's a huge secret that Grace is hiding, and they like rekindle again, and it's second chance. And yeah, it was great. Normally second chance romance is very hit or miss with me, but this was obviously a hit considering it's got the number 4 place in my top 10 favorites of the year. And then we finally reached our top 3, so we've got our holy trinity. So number 3 goes to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson, which is a young adult murder mystery. I would include the whole series honestly because I've read all 3 books and the whole series gets 5 stars, but I just chose A Good Girl's Guide to Murder because it's the first book in the series. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder follows a high school student named Pip who is doing a final year project on a murder that happened in her hometown 5 years ago, where the police and everyone thinks they know who did it, but Pip thinks that they have got the wrong person. So her final year project is surrounding her trying to figure out who the real killer is and prove the other person's innocence. And you get like everything in this book. Like there's whole transcripts of interviews she does with people, and you get to see her persons of interest list, her thought processes, and it's like very much Nancy Drew, Sherlock Holmes kind of vibes. I really love it. There's a romance, a subplot in this as well. It's just so good. Like everything you would want in a murder mystery and more is in this book, and it is incredible. So fast paced. I love this one. Number 2 is a book that I don't normally see many people talk about. It is so underrated. Honestly, out of all the books that I'm talking about, this book is the most underrated book on this list, and that book is The Truth About Love by Maisie Myers. And do you guys see those annotations? Oh my god, I have so many tabs in this book. This is my most annotated book like ever. This is a second chance romance, and what's really cool about this book is that it's spanned out over many years. So you start from the very beginning of the couple first meeting. So we've got Arden and Summer Rain, and they met and fell in love when they were in high school. Both of them have experienced trauma, and this book just has some incredible mental health representation where mental health is not glamorized and it's actually presented in a realistic way, which I really appreciate. And mental health has a lot to do with this story. And they're madly in love while they're teenagers, but then they end up breaking up, and they are like meant to be waiting for each other, but every time they try to get back together, there's always something that is pulling them apart again. So it's constantly like right person, wrong time, and there's a lot of angst in this book as well. It's just incredible, amazing writing. The writing in this book is just so beautiful. There are so many incredible quotes in here. I really love this book, and I highly recommend this one. Maisie Myers is an amazing author, and I'm so excited to be picking up her other books. Are you guys ready to hear my number 1? I think you guys are gonna know what this book is because I rave about this book all the time. It is The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. This obviously gets number 1 spot in my favorites of 2022. This book is everything I want in a contemporary romance and more. This book is what made me fall in love with the grumpy sunshine trope in the first place, and small town as well. I will never stop talking about this book because it is amazing. So this is a grumpy sunshine small town romance. It's set in Alaska. So we follow our main character Kala, who has always been a city girl, but then she finds out that her father, who she has not spoken to since she was 8 years old and has not seen since she was 2 years old, she finds out that he has cancer. She ends up leaving the city to go and spend some time with her father in Alaska. And her father owns this airplane company, so he gets his best employee Jonah to fly out Kala to the Alaskan small town, and they don't really have the best interaction because Jonah is like, oh, this is just another city city girl who is not going to be able to handle the isolated small town of Alaska. Like, she's not going to survive. Calla doesn't like Jonah either, so it's sort of enemies to lovers, and it's just so cute because it's a little bit of a slow burn, but I feel like the slow burn in this book was like the perfect amount of slow burn. It was also such an atmospheric read. Like, oh my god, all I want to do is just like go to Alaska right now because this book has me craving the Alaskan vibes, and I just love Jonah and Calla. Their relationship, freaking everything to me. I love them so much, and I loved seeing Calla and her dad trying to reconnect. Honestly, I don't know if any other romance book is going to be topping this one because it's my favorite. Like, it's so good. So that is my top 10 favorite books of 2022. I had so much fun talking to you guys about my top 10 favorites because I'm pretty happy with this stack right here, and I am so excited to be reading more books in 2023 and finding more new favorites. Like, it's gonna be amazing. I do plan on filming a 2023 TBR as well. I just haven't figured out like what books I want to include in that yet, but I really hope you guys enjoyed watching this video and hearing my top 10 faves. If you guys did enjoy watching, please give this video a huge thumbs up and subscribe to my channel down below. I post new videos every week, and follow me on all my social medias. I'll have them all linked down below too, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.